Well, class, here I am driving home from the other side. I don't recommend you do any video while you're driving, but I really want to take this opportunity to make a confession. One more confession. I live, against my will, in a gated community. You might see I just pulled in. The car in front of me had the secret gate code, and he or she got in because those pearly gates open. You know, it might look like the gates of a palace, but I think it's kind of a prison. I never intended to live in a gated community. Look at those gates close. But all I have to do if I want to get home is press in the secret code, or even better, look at this. All I got to do is press a button on a remote control and those gates open. You might think that's cool, but I really don't like it. So I pull into my gated community. The gate shuts behind me and I'm almost home. I want to give you a chance, one last chance this week for some extra credit. Listen carefully, and here's where it is. As soon as you watch this video, I'll give you 3 minutes to find out online my address. I think you could probably do it, which is really, really scary. I think you can find my address within 3 minutes online. First person to text it to me wins, and here's who I think is going to win, but I'm just guessing. So a gated community is kind of like a bounded set. I mean, obviously, there's a clear boundary. Everybody who lives in this community lives within the same gate. You're either in or out. That's about as clear as possible. You know, it could be a little bit more centered. I pray that way, and I hope so. Maybe Jesus lives here. But turn, if you could, to page 18 and 19 of Craybill, and you'll see something I call an aggregate and something I call a collectivity. Actually, it's Craybill himself, the upside-down dude, who calls them that. At the bottom of page 18, the distinction between an aggregate and a collectivity helps us to clarify the kingdom idea. An aggregate is a collectivity of people who happen to be together in time and space. Consider, for example, a cluster of persons waiting for the walk light at an intersection. Though standing side by side, they usually don't interact with each other. They don't influence one another. By contrast, the executive committee of a local school board is a collectivity, an interdependent cluster of people. They influence each other, formulate common goals, and together decide how to reach them. A kingdom's subjects have a collective interdependence based on the policies of their king. The kingdom of God is a collectivity, a network of persons who have yielded their hearts and relationships to the reign of God. The kingdom is actualized when God rules and hearts end social relationship. Kingdom life is more than a series of individualized email connections linking the king to each subject. The reign of God uses the web of relationships binding king and citizens together. So I draw an aggregate like that. Look at those are people in the set. They're not connected. They're not touching. But I draw a collectivity like this. Look at the people. Little circles there, and they're interconnected. They're interdependent. Look at that. There's even one that's on the border there. So the kingdom of God is much more like this collectivity. But I'm afraid that my nice little matrix-like gated community is not necessarily like that. Here's the bottom line, literally. Again, this week I'm giving you an alternative scenario for a case study. I hope someone takes me up on this. This would be amazing. I hope 3 or 4 of you take me up on this. Instead of the case studies listed in your syllabus, you can ask yourself, what would Jesus do? Would Jesus live in a gated community? So I've linked you down below some articles that would really help. Remember, the whole idea of the signature assignment case study is to ask, what would Jesus do? Or imagine a Jesus-style response. But if you want to, if you don't like any of those on the list, I hope this one appeals to somebody. Would Jesus live in a gated community? Have fun with that one. I think you'll enjoy it. I'll see you in a little while.